Hi there, if we never met before, my name's Vanilla, and if we have met before, welcome back. So what are we talking about today? Let me see here. The last video I made was about a ROM hack, and this one is also about a ROM hack. But while my last video was about a hack of a version of Gold and Silver from 30 years ago, this video is going to be about a brand new demo for a super amazing ROM hack that's built on the Emerald engine. We're going to be talking about Pokemon Peach and Lime, which I'll leave a link to the Poke community page for in the description. Now, if you're new to this channel, I want to lay things out really quick. I don't do the whole clickbaity wait until the end to see what I talk about kind of thing, or ooh, here's this surprise thing you need to stay to watch and learn about. Jingle, jingle the keys, jingle, jingle. I don't have time for all that, and neither do you. I don't typically make videos about projects that I don't like, so that should tell you to definitely check out these hacks. I'm giving it the super obviously very important vanilla seal of approval. So that's my recommendation, everybody. Thank you for stopping by and giving this video a watch. If you found that you liked my content, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. Nah, I'm just kidding, although you should totally like this video and subscribe if you find that you like my content. There's a lot more to talk about with these hacks. I should point out that Peach and Lime are in their beginning demo stage, so the features are incomplete and serve as more of a snapshot of what's to come. I always say this, and I will continue to say this, just because they're demos doesn't mean that you shouldn't give them a chance. Peach and Lime offer 10-ish hours of gameplay if you're not too concerned with the Pokedex. Now, I'm going to take you on an adventure through the Kanto region with me, so let's get to it. The version I chose to play was Peach, and as far as I'm aware, there's no difference between Peach or Lime except for the title screen and the color of the UI. The start screen looks really awesome. We get started when we hit New Game, and we're met with Professor Linden, who's the professor of the Kanto region. According to the information provided in the description of the demo, the region's supposed to be based off of Ireland, which is really cool. I suppose that makes it somewhat adjacent to Galar. You'll notice that there's a lot of references to Kanto's real-life inspiration within this game, and I don't know if I've seen that in any of the ROM hacks I've played so far. Linden does the professor thing where they have to flex one of the Pokemon that'll be available in the region, and in this case it's Bonibiri, which is kind of like Kanto's version of Baniri. The Kanto region is a mix of both canon Pokemon and fakemon, and literally every single fakemon is insanely well designed. I'm personally a huge fan of fakemon. I really love having more mons to collect, and it's definitely a huge bonus that they are some of the best designs I've ever seen. After we give Professor Linden our name, we're shrunk down to tiny size and appear in our bedroom. After doing the traditional open the PC to see if I can steal anything from myself, I noticed how awesome the design direction of the game is already. Yes, how did you know I would love to have a huge Pikachu rug in my bedroom? I waddled out of my bedroom and into the room on the right, which is where we find our brother Tristan dead in bed. He is just unmovable. The good old get up doesn't seem to do the trick. We're supposed to go and see Professor Linden, so like, what are we doing? Forget him, I'm ready to move on with my day. Heading downstairs, our mom is like, hey, go wake Tristan up, and I for sure just wanted to walk out the door because I feel like that's definitely a him problem. But since I'm trapped in here otherwise, I go and wake him up. I walk back downstairs, talk to mom again, and got a town map. She then calls Tristan our Tristan, which no, he's definitely entirely your problem. And just like that, I'm out to head to the professor's lab. Now you might be like, Vanilla, why are you being so mean to Tristan? And my answer to that is, we'll get there. Stop trying to spoil it, jeez. The lab and our home are located in Glassfield Town, and as we walk into the lab, Professor Linden is getting everything set up, presumably for us and Tristan, who's fashionably late. Then he complains about how tired he is. The professor goes on to explain how he studies the nature of Pokemon and how it impacts their behavior. I really appreciated this little line because it fits into how professors have their own reasons for studying Pokemon. I'm happily listening as Tristan proceeds to interrupt the professor. His attitude is like Barry from Gen 4 minus all the good things. Now, kind of a side note here, this is obviously just how I feel about Tristan as a person, and it has nothing to do with the writing. The professor shows off 3 extremely rare Pokemon from the Kanto region, and these are the starters we have to choose from. And when I say I love them all, I mean that. They are genuinely so cute. There's Mafila, which is a grass type, Papyrus, which is a fire type, and then Splotter, which is the region's water type. I had such a hard time choosing, but eventually I landed on Papyrus, which means that Tristan picked Splotter. I named my Papyrus Boop because you just want to boop its little nose, you know? Professor Linden gives us the Pokemon Index, which we all know as the Pokedex, an XP share, as well as 10 Pokeballs to get us started on our journey. Hearing Professor Linden's request to help him fill up the Pokedex, Tristan just takes it and walks out. Professor Linden says he's hasty, and I suppose he's just trying to be polite because Tristan's being a jerk. The professor asks us to deliver the remaining starter Pokemon to his friend Bud in Rosewood Town. Walking onto Route 1 lets us meet some of Kanto's native Pokemon, including Shroomy and Hoppler. They're so cute. Shroomy is literally a possum, which is such a great idea. I'm not sure why it wasn't a design before. Then I went and caught a Sentrant because anytime there's a wild Sentrant, a Furret will end up on my team, and they will always be named Bingo. You can't stop me. Moving past Route 1 leads us to Rosewood Town, where I picked up the old rod and then walked around and talked to every NPC because I gotta see what everyone has to say. In this house, this guy's getting friend zoned in real real time, and it's kind of painful. I had to leave that awkward situation and go find Bud. And when I found him, I found an icon. In all his glory, Bud can only be described as Blue Raspberry Guy Fieri. Bud asked us to go meet him back in the Pokemon lab with Professor Linden, so I backtracked there. And when we walk in, we're greeted by Linden and Blue Raspberry Guy Fieri, and great. Tristan shows back up because he forgot something in the lab and just had to come back to get it. Bud introduces himself to Tristan, who says he doesn't have time to hang around with us normies because he's got to get to the Pokemon League. But turns out Bud is the chairman of the Pokemon League and Tristan isn't even registered. Lucky for us, Bud offers to register both of us to partake in the gym challenge. Of course, Tristan is chomping at the bit, but Bud says that we have to have a Pokemon battle first. This is just your classic rival battle, and obviously I'm so good that I beat Tristan with no problem. After a bit of training, wandering around, and filling up my Pokedex, I eventually made my way to Amberstone City, which is where the first gym is. And when we walk over to the gym, there's someone out front that's blocking us. They said the gym leader is out and we should go visit the trainer school first. Gotta go get that good old education. Naturally, everyone in the school is aggro, but I managed to crawl to the front of the classroom to see none other than the GOAT, Professor Rowan. I definitely wasn't expecting to see Grandpa here. He greets us and explains that he came to Kelto to share his findings with the students. I could sit and listen to Rowan forever. I feel like he would have so much cool stuff to share. Anyway, Professor Linden told Professor Rowan we were helping with his research, and so Professor Rowan offers us one of 3 Sinnoh starters. I picked Turtwig because Turtwig is my favorite. Everyone say hi to Tum Tum. Unfortunately, I didn't get to use him since I use grass types on my team often, and there was a regional version of Hoppip, and just like Furret, if there's a Hoppip, a Jumpluff is definitely going to be on my team. And I mean, look at Hoppip and its regional variant. Can you really blame me? They're so cool. When I walked out of the trainer school, I ran into Bud and Mini Bud. Mini Bud is Bud's son, his name is Ren, and we learned that he's also going to be taking part in the gym challenge. I hope he's like our actual rival because I'm sick of seeing Tristan. I feel like Tristan's the type who's going to have some sort of evil character arc because he's convinced by the bad guys that it's cool to be evil. Once we battle Ren, we're able to move on to the first gym. And honestly, the designs in all the gyms are really unique. Minerva's gym is based off of a library and her design fits that aesthetic. As for the gym battle, and this is something I noticed with all the gym leaders, their AI is kind of wonky. They are determined to get their respective combo off. In Minerva's case, both her Shroomy and Porygon would attack and then protect and just repeat. It wasn't anything difficult. I was just kind of hoping for a bit of a switch up. However, the levels were fair and I was only a couple levels above her ace, so it was a pretty satisfying fight. I left Amberstone triumphantly with my first gym badge, and when I entered into the Rainstone Forest, I was given the HM for cut by this old guy. Then he just leaves. Bye, I guess. Thankfully, in Peach and Lime, the HMs are able to be used without teaching them to your Pokemon, as long as you have a Pokemon in your party who would be able to learn it naturally. And can I just take a moment to say that I really appreciate ROM hacks built on older games that add these quality of life features. Now, getting through the Rainstone Forest was a long process. There were a ton of trainers. This lady here is able to heal your Pokemon for free, so that saves some time running back to the Pokemon Center in Amberstone. And it's a good thing she was there because right down the stairs, Tristan is talking to someone, which is not a good sign. Walking down to talk to both of them, Tristan demands that we get his Pokemon back because this person stole them. Dude, how do you even let that happen? This is our introduction to the evil organization Team Horizon, whose outfits look really cool, I'd like to point out. And all the grunts had purple hair, kind of like Team Galactic, but better. The grunt had a team of all fairy Pokemon, which I appreciate because fairy types are the best. After we get Tristan's Pokemon back for him, he actually manages a thank you before taking it all back and running off talking about how great he's going to be and how he's going to diff us next time. We walk through the gate into Rainway City, which is aptly named. It's pouring rain. Walking through the city, Tristan shows back up again. Didn't I just help you? Well, I've been waiting for you. He sounds like a cheesy villain. I'm thinking Vector from Despicable Me. I feel like he's gonna turn around in the chair in his evil lair maniacally laughing or something. Except we're in the middle of a city, so maybe that's just all in my head. His Pokemon were actually as high of a level as mine, so it was a fair fight. And then at the end, he can't take a loss, so he just claims it was a fluke. I didn't lose. Talk about a sore loser. He runs off hastily, so it's time to head to the gym. This is where we meet the gym leader Fern, who's giving off Mad Milo vibes from Gen 8, which I guess makes sense since Galar is based off of the UK and Kelto is supposed to be based off of Ireland. Rainway's gym was really cool. I like this hedge maze thing they had going on, although I was a little confused when I walked into the Rainway City gym, a city known for its rain, and discovered it was a grass type gym. I mean, I guess water makes grass grow, maybe? I like the switch up. My one gripe with this gym was Fern's battle because the AI was stuck in that looping pattern again. It was obsessed with trying to stun spore me until I was actually paralyzed. But no worries, we got our second gym badge and it's time to move on. On our way out of town, we see that two Team Horizon grunts have stolen a bike and this old guy's Nidorino. Okay, so this is our second time seeing Team Horizon, and they're committing property theft and stealing from the elderly. Clearly, this organization is the pinnacle of evil. We chase the thieves down towards the cave where we fought off one of the grunts. The other grunt is scared off by the old man's Nidorino just because it's a poison type. Poor Nidorino, it's just the baby. And this grunt's out here being some kind of way. Don't worry, Nidorino, we love you. The old man thanks us for saving his partner and asks us to go back to the bike shop where he and the shopkeeper give us a free bike. If I can be honest, and just like everything in this video, this is just me, I almost feel like running on foot feels faster. Maybe it's just like the animation of the bike or something, but it felt slower than running, which I'm not complaining about. I like the idea of running place to place. Next, we waddle over to Cadwire City, where we come across Guy Fieri Jr. and a couple of Horizon grunts. Now, these grunts are like comically inept, which I love. If you've been here long enough or you've seen my content before, you know that I love comically evil organizations. One of my favorite villain groups from any Pokemon game is easily Team Skull from Sun and Moon. They're just goofy villains who do goofy dances, say yo too much, and exist to be a nuisance. They like the concept of being bad without actually really being bad, and these grunts up until this point have kind of been giving the same vibe. Once we beat them and they run off, Ren tells us that the city's power's been surging all day and he can't get on with the gym challenge because of it. So he chases the grunts through the gate to find the source of the power surge. Since I actually kind of like him, I quickly followed Ren and ended up in the Cadwire factory where Team Horizon is holed up. Ren fights off a couple of grunts while we go through the factory, which is filled with these T-shaped conveyor belt puzzles. Thankfully, it's not like the Gen 1 puzzles in the Team Rocket hideout, or I might have crashed out. The grunts are thankfully not too tough, and something I noticed was that there isn't like a theme or restriction on the Pokemon the Team Horizon grunts can have. They have all sorts of Pokemon and fakemon, from Curlia to Houndour to Lapixie, which is the super adorable fairy type bunny. That's literally my favorite fakemon I've seen so far. It's actually quite refreshing to see an organization that had Pokemon that I presume they like instead of the entirety of the local Zubat and Rattata population. Like, is it a requirement of Team Rocket grunts that you can only have a Rattata, Zubat, Grimer, Coughing, or Ekans? Would someone get their application denied if they had a Pikachu or a Butterfree? After beating all the grunts, we make our way to this room with these colored lines on the floor. What do? I don't know. I kind of want to know, but more importantly, there's this guy here, and he's so far the biggest bad of Team Horizon, and his name's Victor. Ren catches up to us and we confront the important plot device. Immediately, Victor breaks off into this monologue about how the people of the city don't think about the power running through the city, and allegories with nihilistic undertones. For the first few lines, I can't help but think back to Cyrus from Gem 4. I understand that nihilism, or the belief that all moral values are pointless and life itself is meaningless, can make and has made for some interesting villains, but I personally can't relate or begin to empathize with any of that. It sounds really depressing to me to think that way. I myself like a good old hero story with a good ending. Now back to Victor, he goes on about how the people don't understand how good they have things until they're gone. Ren says the thing that a lot of us are probably thinking and tells Victor to stop with a creepy monologue. Victor responds by being even creepier, saying that he's excited that we beat his grunts and got all the way to him. Okay, Guy Fieri Jr., what comebacks or words of inspiration do you have? What do you mean you're too weak to fight? I don't want to fight alone. Come on, this guy's creepy. Whatever, I came prepared. I beat him without an issue. Well, almost. I don't know why, but when he pulled out his Lopunny, which I assumed was a ghost type based on its design, Bite wasn't effective. So instead of going, oh, it's not a ghost type, it must be a dark type, I should use low kick, I decided to swap out. Peak big brain vanilla gameplay right there, by the way. Anyway, we beat Victor and he gives us this like, oh, I'm kind of creepy, but not really line. Like, bro, back the back up. And then he's like, whatever, you beat me, but did you really? I detect a hint of hesitation. How does one detect a hint of hesitation? I haven't even said anything. Bro is just operating on vibes alone. Then he asked the question, why do we seek strength? Now, I immediately answered to make an army of Lulu to take over the world. But evidently, he nor Ren seemed to hear all of that, and Victor scoffs at us for not having an answer. He then calls us directionless and unable to conquer ourselves, whatever that means. And then finally, we de-aggro him and he just leaves. Ren says that Victor has a point and he worries about plateauing in life, and so he says he needs to go train. He walks off, leaving us to head to the Cadwire gym. Everyone's so existential right now, I swear. Taryn is the gym leader for the Cadwire gym, and her team was tough, but not because it was unfair or anything. She had this cool fakemon called Spirium, and this atom-looking thing was able to paralyze most of my team and then whittle me down with Energy Ball. But other than that, the rest of the battle went off without a hitch. After beating the gym, Ren congratulates us and tells us to battle him at the Scoria Cave. Now, Scoria Cave is cool because unlike normal caves, it's kind of like a hot spring, so it's covered in a thick layer of steam. I grinded in here a bit before heading up to Ren. Here he talks about his dad, Blue Raspberry Guy Fieri, and how he's not always around because of his job as the chairman of the Pokemon League. But Ren says that doesn't bother him. He admires that his dad is scouting out strong trainers, which I gotta say is kind of refreshing to see someone who's proud of their parents even if they aren't always there. We battle Ren, and not to brag or anything, but I steamrolled him. I am the main character after all. After the battle, he thanks us for helping him out of his slump. He comes to the conclusion that he has to make his own path and he wants to get stronger. Then he walks off. And just like that, at the demo ends. I mean, it literally flashes. That's all the content in the game. So I want to use this part of the video to talk about the game as a whole and what I liked about it. I won't touch on the story because I think that this demo ends at a part where the story is just starting to pick up, so it hasn't really had the chance to develop itself yet. I like the direction it's going, and I personally can't wait to see where Ren's story goes. He's set up to have what I can only presume is going to be a really great character arc, and I will be putting my conspiracy theory of Tristan turning into a Temu villain on the back burner. My favorite part of this ROM hack is the art. It is one of the prettiest looking ROM hacks I've played in a while. I just can't get over how cute the fakemon are, and how all the regional variants just spit so well with the theme of the region. My two favorites are the Pixie and the regional variant of Hoppip. Their designs are S tier to me. The cities and routes all feel unique and interesting, and there isn't a single place I visited where I was like, man, this kind of looks half-baked. It feels like the developers took a lot of time to craft the world in a way that would both match the aesthetics of Pokemon and the region it's based off of. There were also a lot of quality of life features, with one of the big ones being the move deleter, which can be found at every Pokemon Center. Like I said before too, HMs are usable without taking up a move slot, so as long as there's a Pokemon who can use it, and you can also name Pokemon directly from the Pokemon menu instead of going to a name raider. These go a long way in making the gameplay smooth, and they don't force you to backtrack painfully often. However, some of the things I wasn't really a fan of was the concept of a real-time clock and the gym leader AI. I already mentioned a few times where I noticed the AI would continually loop moves until they hit before actually attacking you, which made for some either quick uneventful battles or tedious ones where you never had enough paralyzed heals. And the idea of a real-time clock just really limits the Pokemon you could see. I'm not entirely sure if the clock is actually implemented, but I play mostly during the day, and if there were any Pokemon that were nighttime specific, I would probably be out of luck. But other than that, and the bike feeling a little slow, there wasn't really anything that stood out as something I didn't like in this demo. Pokemon Peach and Lime have a great start, and honestly, I think the final product will be something unique and extremely memorable. I'm excited to see the entire Pokedex because I'm definitely a huge fan of collecting. I think you should totally check it out, and like I said at the beginning, the link to the ROM's Poke community thread is in the description. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. If you found that you liked my content and me, it would mean so much if you could like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to click the notification bell so you can know when I post my next video. I would love to hear what you all think, so if you could leave a comment down below, I'd be super excited to hear what your thoughts are. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you have an amazing day, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Okay, bye!